right, John, you know what the world needs right now? Another podcast.
I was thinking that there weren't enough.
We need another podcast. Like, I need a hole in the head. John, what is something? I'm going to ask you a question just because I don't often ask you questions. I give you answers. Okay.
You always do.
uh, what's one thing that you've seen consistently with clients you work with or the business experience you've had in startup that's totally a miss, right? Like maybe one of those misses that people don't first and foremost understand is even a miss.
Yeah, I think getting started in a business when you're a founder, there's not a lot of structure when you're just a solo founder. Maybe you've got a couple co-founders, even one or two employees. But as you grow beyond two to three, actually not even beyond two to three, once you hire one person, you need to have some form of a management system in place. And I've seen companies with 20, 30 employees not have management systems in place. It's really about having, aligning long-term, first of all, setting long-term goals, setting vision, setting mission. So every employee that comes in, investors you're working with, your co-founders, your stakeholders, understand what you're trying to accomplish. And that's a big and large mission and vision. And so that it's an exercise that drives, in my opinion, a lot of strategic decisions that the business will have and that will come up over, over the years, over the months, over the quarters, et cetera. And so it's important to have that kind of dialed in. And then that's what really drives your quarterly planning, your monthly planning, your weekly planning, how you're thinking about approaching the business and what your execution plan looks like. What are you executing against? You have to execute against things that roll up to kind of a broader strategy. And, additionally, you've got, as you start to hire, you have multiple departments, and how do those departments all row in the same direction? And how is communication, getting dispersed throughout the organization when there are challenges, issues that come up, people or departments that are falling behind on what they're supposed to be doing. So a management system is very comprehensive and complex, as I'm sure you know, Russ, but I think not having one is a clear miss.
My thing is like, and I've observed this in CEOs more often than not, there's this misplaced perspective of like, yeah, I know what our mission and vision is, so everyone else does too, right? Like, I feel like one of the most pernicious things I see in early stage, high growth businesses that are capitalized and kind of bringing new people in and like, getting bigger and better and bigger and better. There's just this thing of, oh, of course, everyone gets it. No, nobody gets it. No one
I
gets
don't
it
even think
unless
they get it.
they don't even get
I don't
it.
think I've seen it where they don't even get it. They have an idea. It's this kind of big thing in their head, the cloudy eye, but they haven't articulated it. They haven't written it down. As you start to press on what that is, I think they don't even fully know what it is.
Without that articulation, you can't have, of course, shared consensus. But like everything that you're doing from like marketing through sales, through how you operate the product, how you collect and finance the product or what have you, it's all hollow then. And hollow sounds like, oh, a dreamy word or whatever. Let me put it this way. It all freaking breaks because people need to be involved in something for more than a paycheck. They need the umph to go the extra distance at these type of companies. And they're not going to do it if they don't understand the vision, if they don't participate in the articulated mission. Um, and I'm
Yeah, and then
not
every
saying,
decision, oh, I was just going to say every decision that gets made in the organization, if it is truly a refined vision and mission that is laid out and everyone understands it, the answers become pretty clear
yeah,
quickly what the right solution is. And that's where a lot of confusion comes into play. When mission and vision is not articulated and clear, decisions are not clear.
Right. One of the things, though, while I think we both agree that articulating and sharing and committing to a vision and the mission of how to get to that vision is important, I think almost equal footing of bad with not having one is ramrodding them in too early and them being like crappy, right? Like, I don't think
Yeah.
when you start a
I was
company,
actually going to ask you, can I ask you a question on that?
yeah,
How early is too early to even have one? Because what if you're pre-product market fit?
great question. I actually think that's too early. I mean, well, I hate to say it depends. Um, it kind of does. I'm thinking more B2B businesses, businesses selling to businesses, your traditional SaaS products or whatever. You got to have the problem. You need to really understand the problem you're solving, and you have to have tested the solution in market for money in order to really have a mission.
Well, let
The
me ask you
vision
this though.
can be earlier.
There you go. So I think you could, if you're solving a real pain point and you validated that pain point and problem with consumers, then you can have a big vision without even a product yet,
Yeah.
because you don't know what the product, what the solution actually is. You know what you're trying to solve, and there could be multiple directions by which you go to solve it, right? And so you can still have that big, higher level vision and mission. Where I see potentially issues is pre-validation of the actual problem, an
Yes.
assumption that is made of the problem, but the problem is not as big or as painful as the founder believes it to be.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I've seen that before, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I,
Because
I think it's
then you're making a vision or mission on a problem that doesn't actually exist, or it's not that big of a deal, right?
God, yeah, what was it? I saw it just the other day. Um, what book? I was it was in I can't remember it. I've always disliked business books. Like I'm a pretty, and you know this, I'm a pretty voracious reader, but I almost never would read business books, which is, I think, pretty opposite from you.
It is opposite. Yeah.
But recently I found the Lean Startup,
Hmm.
and I tore through that. It was very interesting. And I saw something recently around founders solving problems that don't exist, and like really just wedging in a problem that no one else has.
Or it's
And
just such a small problem for such a
doesn't
small,
matter.
or it might be a big problem for a really small audience.
Yeah.
That's another issue.
Yeah. Yeah. What about like let me just pull up for fun here. Nike vision and mission. Let me see where they're at. What's Nike's mission? Our mission to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world.
Is
Asterisk
that
on
that's the
athlete.
vision?
That's the mission.
That's
That's
the
what they're
mission. Okay.
calling their mission. So I didn't even, let me finish this though, because this is kind of cool. So the mission is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And there's an asterisk on athlete. And
I
the
know where you're going with
asterisk
this.
then reads, if you have a body, you're an athlete.
Yep. I knew that about Nike. Yeah. And then
That's
I think
cool.
early on, I don't know whether it was their mission or their vision, but it was crush Adidas. So it was a
I
rallying
remember that
cry
too.
internally. And so these visions or missions can be extremely broad, right? They can be broad, they can be dialed in, they could be focused on positive, or they can be focused on competition, and it's a rallying cry, and sometimes that's fine. It obviously worked for
Yeah.
Nike.
Let me just show off my tech skills and see if I could share this. Uh, I'm a real tech maven.
You were
Can y'all
actually
see
our
that?
IT guy at Build at our last company.
I
Thank you for
briefly
that hard
was the
work.
IT guy, which is
Yeah,
incredibly scary.
head of sales was our was our IT guy.
Yeah, which explains a lot of legacy issues that still they have
That's
with
right.
technology. Um, Vision, mission, core values. Vision to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. The asterisk deal with everybody with the body. Um, Vision to remain the most authentic rather, connected and distinctive brand. That's the vision. And core values: community, sustainability, diversity, and social responsibility. Here's the thing. I get it because when I look at that, it looks like a bunch of words, like a word salad. Like, what the F does that mean? That's all like very
I think it's a
fluffy.
bunch of bullshit. I think Nike, personally, my hot take, I think this is garbage. I think
How
it's
would you
garbage.
fix it?
I think I actually really like I think the vision, or is that the mission, about the athletes. Read that one again.
Yeah. Let me see if I can make it enlarged here.
I can't. Yeah, I
So,
can't really see it.
to the mission of Nike is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Asterisk, how did they put it? If you have a body, you're an athlete.
I think that one's okay. It's hard to, you're what it is inspiration and motivation. So that's really the key there. And they're just saying we want to inspire and motivate every person in the world. But to do what? I'm not sure. It feels extremely fluffy and corporate to me. I think getting that a little bit more dialed in to something about getting your body to move, just saying every athlete in the world, maybe that's what they're implying. But
Yeah.
where is what is the inspiration? What is the innovation? Is it to create health, to create a healthy lifestyle, to move every day, to what are they inspiring people to do, right? And what are they innovating for? So I think that's a little bit fluffy. This feels corporate to me. Their Crush Adidas one at least had a shared purpose to me,
Yeah.
and I don't know when they got rid of that, but there's some excitement internally that can be created around something like Crush Adidas, right? I think it's not great, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it because it does create that shared mission within
Yeah.
the company.
Like a tribe, you know?
A tribe,
That's
yeah.
what it is. It's like a good mission and vision cements like a belonging at the company. Like you participating in the company. Like I think one of the big misses that I see related to this from the C-suite is overestimating employees' want and commitment to money and underestimating their deeply human need to belong someplace. And I feel that we've gone haywire since the 1980s in overestimating why people go to work to do a job and build a career. We now almost always think first about money. And I'm not trying to be too kumbaya. What I am just trying to do is highlight the fact that if you're running a business, you need to run it in such a way that people want to belong there. And it's hard to belong in a place where you don't know the purpose for its existence.
Yeah. Think about everything cults are the extreme of that, right? A cult has, and I'm not a fan of cults, as you know,
You're not?
but they have, no, I'm not, surprisingly, but they have very clear leadership with missions and purposes, and
Right.
people identify with that and join, and there's no money involved. Actually, they're usually paying a lot of money,
Oh
and
God, yeah.
money is going towards the cult.
That's right.
But that's what you're implying here is there's this need for belonging. And you're right, to get the most out of employees and to have them aligned with your mission vision, there needs to be a clear mission and vision that or employees can really self-identify with.
Let me ask you that. I agree. Let me ask you this. At what point, headcount wise, does it get untenable to not have an articulated vision and mission? Like you asked me, like before, a version of that question, when about the too early. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about too late, like from a headcount
I
standpoint.
think I would say is the latest, in my opinion, and this is off the cuff here, but the latest is it's not necessarily a number, but what it is when the CEO is no longer communicating very closely with each employee. So if the CEO is day to day engaging and interacting with every employee in the company, that could be
Hmm.
5 people, could be 6 people, could be 8 people. At that point, once you kind of lose a little bit of that communication with the CEO, you need to have that dialed in. Somebody else is managing another person in the organization. And if it is not clearly articulated what your purpose is, what your mission is, what your vision is, what the annual goals are, how is it go? You now have multiple layers in between the CEO and the rest of the employee and the rest of the team, right? So I think it's more about, and I would assume that's probably 4 to 8 employees is kind of just a swag.
4 to 8, I would have gone north of that number wise. So that's hardcore.
Maybe,
Yeah,
I mean, once you have 8 employees, is the CEO really interacting with the eighth employee daily?
yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
true.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I I'm trying to. Did you ever read that book called *Sapiens*? It was
I
pretty
did not
hot
actually.
a few years ago. And what is the? Somebody will know this maybe who watches this. All my personal wish is that no one ever sees this because it's just awful. Um,
That's very discouraging, Russ.
well, what can I say? I'm an optimist. Um,
Clearly.
which yuck, yuck, yuck. We were just talking about optimism. By the way, optimism
Yeah, we
is,
were.
I think, a great like advantage in business. Having an
Oh, it
optimistic
is.
disposition.
It certainly is.
I would
Do you think
describe you as an
optimism is
optimist, John.
a I'm an eternal optimist, that is for sure. Would you say that optimism is a trait or a skill?
Um, God, that's a question that a lot of people way smarter than me have thought about. Not just in the guise of, or in the circumstance of optimism, but it's like another like nature versus nurture thing. I think that optimism is inborn. I think that there is an intrinsic setting that folks have, but it's certainly reinforced through childhood and life experiences. Like I think, I'm thinking about Man's Search for Meaning, the Viktor Frankl book. Are you familiar with it?
Oh yeah, I've read it twice.
There you go. So, this dude is in a concentration camp, right? Like that's probably the worst situation one could be in the 20th century, maybe all time. I don't know. The Middle Ages were pretty rowdy, but like that's an awful circumstance. And one
Doesn't get much
can
worse.
maintain optimistic and forward-looking perspective, and enlivened by hope and purpose, right? Like, so I think innately someone can be optimistic even in horrible situations. But I do also
Well,
think that
it's
horrible
belief.
situations can damper somebody.
Without a doubt, but I think why he and some others survived that, and he talks about this in the book, is they had a clear vision and mission in their life and purpose in their life,
You're
and
right.
that purpose and mission in their life extended beyond their current circumstance, and they
Yeah.
saw past that. And if you didn't have that purpose and mission and vision in your life, then it made that circumstance far more challenging. Um, it was
Just like a
extremely
business.
challenging for everybody in it, but just like a business, if you have that shared purpose and mission, when things go poorly, you will stay positive. You will figure out solutions. You will still have belief that your business can succeed.
Did we just compare startups to concentration camps? I think we have
I
to
hope
walk
not.
that back. Yeah.
But I think we did just walk that line.
That's not true, by the way. So um, obviously that's not true. Um, but yeah, you get the point. Yeah, you're an optimistic guy. I don't know if I'm optimistic or pessimistic. I'm careful. I think that's probably the
You
best
are
way I would put
careful.
myself. You say that so emphatically, John. What do you
Well, we
mean?
work well together. I'm the one who's like, let's do this, and you're like, hold on, slow down. And I think that's what makes you got to have some of both, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's
I
balance.
think so. It's true for the leadership team at a company as well. You don't want all, sycophants who kind of follow into this dreamy place and all love everything all the time and are rah, rah, rah. But you do want some of those people,
You need them.
you know?
You need them.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to find it when we were talking before. There is, I can't remember the principle, but there's a network effect. I'll have to look it up or something and tag it. Um, Human beings, after we get outside of a certain number of personal contacts, we change. Like things fall apart. So at that point, you really need the mission and the vision. And I can't remember what the science suggests that number is. It's like 20 or something. After about that head count, you can't have personal relationships with people.
Yeah.
Get into golden takes and crap takes. Um, I saw this, no surprise, from one of my favorite LinkedIn follows. Let me see if I can share this. Uh, I love this guy. I think he is extremely articulate, talented. I'm a member of Pavilion. John, I know you have been in the past. This dude, Sam, is awesome. He's a good guy I've talked to a few times, uh, and always has golden content. I saw this just yesterday. What's your reaction to this, John, as a CMO?
I mean, I think it's in theory very accurate. I think if you are not investing in brand and investing in brand recognition, awareness of the problem, your own vision and mission of your company, and making sure that your customers know what you stand for, and really creating that awareness and brand advocacy, I think it's a problem if you're not doing it. With that said, companies are such beholden, or CMOs are so beholden to CEOs and boards, and really what they care about ultimately, or at least what they may say they care about the long term, but what they really care about is quarter over quarter, month over month growth, right? In ARR, MRR, hitting and establishing large pipeline, and really hitting KPIs. And so if you're investing in brand, long term, that should be driving pipeline over time, right? When people have the problem, they think of you as the solution. But in the short term, you're not generating pipeline off of brand spend, likely, right? And it's hard to attribute. And so it is the CMO's job to go pitch that to the CEO and to the board, But many times there's just a pressure for more leads, more top of funnel leads, more top of funnel SQLs. And
Hear
so
it all the time.
ultimately, yeah, it gets extremely challenging to actually execute on. So while I agree with it in theory, you have to have full alignment with the CEO, with the board. And yeah, it's the CMO's job to articulate that. But I do find it extremely challenging amidst a lot of demands and pressures to hit certain, short-term KPIs.
There's just a ton of short-sightedness, and I think brand often gets like short shrifted. Like, oh, we'll build that later. We'll spend on that later. But right now we need to pump the machine full of money, right? So counterbalancing, thank you. I agree with Sam and with what you're saying too. Counterbalancing, what I think is a good take is this. I mean, this is also pulled from LinkedIn. I'm not gonna name the name. Will be nice, but like, I think LinkedIn is sometimes filled, or in part filled with these blustery, like just kind of cringy. Um, I think some people just go for the clickbait of it, right? Like, um, treat everybody equal. Firstly, as like a grammar snob, it should be equally. Um, and that sounds nice to say, but that's kind of impractical at a company. I would wager to say if you're treating everyone equally, you're probably not a good employee, right?
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
not treating your boss you're treating your boss differently than you're treating, I mean, when I say treat, I think what he might mean is just be nice to everybody, and sure, be nice to everybody. But my relationship and how I approach my boss or even my direct reports is different than how I maybe am, day in and day out, working with somebody in a completely different department, or the janitor, or the cleaner, like he said.
right, right. I think this is just blustering. It's just like going over the top because here's the thing. I have counseled salespeople throughout my career to not focus on their email box and be, crazy with replying to emails instantaneously and dropping everything and mind shifting into that. And I've often said, whenever you're in your inbox replying to stuff, you're working for someone else. You're not working for yourself. So there's a kernel of truth in what he's saying here at number 5, but putting it that way is just BS. They don't respond to 99% of emails? That's nuts.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
They're fine to be the dumbest person in the room? Like, no one mentally, emotionally wants to be the dumbest person in the room. I know what he's trying to say. Like, you should be in, challenging environments and be around smart people. I get that. You don't have to be the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah.
Ruthlessly protect. What are you bringing? Knives? What are you bringing? A gun? Ruthlessly protect your time? Listen, here's my take for this guy. Waste a little time. It's good for your soul. Waste a little time. Like, take a longer coffee break. Talk to a employee whom you're treating equal about her weekend or his, kids' practice. Wildly open to new ideas. Sounds a little risque. Anyway, just keep an eye out on LinkedIn for this nonsense, over the top crap.
Going for the likes.
We've
Going
done
for
it
the
all.
likes. Going for the engagement.
It's true.
We
We've
have.
done it all.
We've
We've said it all. Probably the worst podcast we'll ever do, but we had to get it out of the way.
Oh yeah.
And
We need to get
any
this technology
final
working
thoughts?
too.
Yeah. This platform has been crap throughout this whole thing, so hopefully we've shined on through. Any final thoughts, John?
Man, just Russ, I love the hot takes. The hot takes are great. You know, I don't know.
This is
I
basically
got
the
nothing else.
Biden
I
Trump
think
debate.
yeah, that's right. Well,
This
which
is
of us is Biden? Which one of us is Trump?
I I'm Trump.
I'm not
You're
taking
Biden.
Biden. I'm not taking Biden.
I'm Trump. I'm Trump. I thought it was
Okay.
awesome how they started like challenging each other to golf last night. That was great.
Yeah,
That was my
I heard
highlight.
about that. And they got into it.
Rest
They
in,
got into the golf debate. Yeah.
rest in paradise to Kinky Friedman, by the way. Sad to see one of the great Austin, Texas legends pass away yesterday. So if you don't know who Kinky Friedman is, look up Kinky Friedman. And maybe do a posthumous vote. That's who I'm voting for president. So, all right.
There you go. All right, Russ. Good stuff.
See ya. All right.
See ya.
Does it just stop?